What's up, duelists? Today I've got a very banger video. This is a deck I've been working on for a very long time, and I think I've gotten it really close to strong and solid and like actually playable into the meta. Before we get into that, I just want to say thank you guys for all your support. If you want to subscribe, just smash the subscribe. Banger decks come out almost every single day. And then, of course, RBET stuff coming in the next few days. Make sure you stay tuned. You don't want to miss out on that. RBET, that's the peak of Edison format. You guys don't want to miss out on that. All right, let's talk about this deck. So the way this deck works is it's a Valhalla combo deck. Valhalla lets you special summon a fairy from your hand. So you can special summon a high-level fairy, really strong cards like Christia, Splendid Venus, Tethius, etc. For free, which is super strong, but you have to factor in that Valhalla is inherently a -1. So you're doing everything you're doing at -1. And if you draw multiple Valhallas, then they are inherently -1s, unless you can get them to trade for cards from your opponent. So generally speaking, this card is card disadvantage. And so you want to make up for that card disadvantage in a couple of different ways. The big way is obviously by battle. If you can run over something with one of your big fairies, then you've made up for that loss, basically. But also, there's a couple other ways you can make up for that card disadvantage. One of them being Tethius' effect. This card is insane. If you ever resolve this effect for like 3 or 4, you're probably just winning the game on the spot. And another way you can make up for the card advantage or card disadvantage of Valhalla is connecting with Neo-Parshath or Neo-Parshath. Neo-Parshath is basically Neo-Parshath, but it's stronger. He has some other like weird effects here and there, but he's a 2300 piercer that when he deals battle damage to your opponent, you get to draw a card. There's a little bit of a conflict here that is annoying. Tethius can't activate in the damage step. So if you connect with Neo-Parshath or Neo-Parshath, it doesn't trigger your Tethius. But it's pretty rare and in between that you have both of them in play at the same time anyway. So it's like not that big of a deal. Usually what's going to happen is you'll summon Tethius and then you'll be like, answer this or lose. Or you can summon Tethius, you can activate a trade-in, pitch an 8-star, and then hopefully draw a fairy and then draw a bunch of cards and then immediately win. Or you can, if you're going second, you can activate Valhalla, special out Tethius, then maybe crash a Shining Angel into a Cyber Valley or a normal summon a Cyber Valley and then Brain and Mind on your opponent's monster and then draw a couple cards and hopefully draw a bunch of cards and win the game that way as well. The way this deck loses is if you break on a bunch of high-level monsters. So that's why we're playing the full 7 ways to get out high-level monsters. 3 Hecatrees, 3 Valhalla, and Mausoleum, as well as the end phase discard a monster and then bring it back with Call of the Haunted. That's another way we can special out the high-level monsters. Soul of Beardian Light's one of the best cards you can draw after you've resolved Tethius because it's just another card you can play that also pumps up your board, makes it harder for your opponent to like run over your guys. And then Herald of Orange Light is the best hand trap, as well as Honest. I don't think Herald of Purple Light is good, and I don't think Herald of Green Light are good in the main. But I do think that siding Herald of Green Light is important. There's a lot of matchups where Herald of Green Light is just like absolutely insane. So you definitely want to side it. I'm really high on Royal Decree and Heavy Storm. I don't think you want too many of this type of effect because it's not the best in some matchups, but I really do think that you can make an argument for having the second Decree in the main as well. It is pretty interesting, although we do have Call of the Haunted and Royal Decree. If you have Splendid Venus in play, you can actually activate Call of the Haunted under your own decree and bring something out. So kind of cool little thing that comes up here and there. Splendid Venus is just the best 8-star that you can play, that you can pitch to trade in alongside Christia as well. The sideboard, it's pretty tight. I don't think you can really change too much. The only thing that like maybe you could change is like the Gorge, but he's pretty important versus Blackwings. You got Double Consecrated for Blackwings, and a second Decree also comes in the back row matchups. And then Book of Moon to stop Vanity's Fiend, that card's annoying. Grammel also to stop Vanity's Fiend, that card's annoying. And Grammel helps you versus flip effects like Raikou and stuff. That can be really annoying against this deck. Double Herald of Green, this is for like decks that need to resolve spells to play against you, like Frogs or what's that other deck? Dragon Turbo, or sometimes like Phoenixian Cluster Amaryllis decks, that sort of thing, where they have power spells, and if you negate them with Herald of Green, it's like you can't lose, right? It's also pretty good against things that have spell cards that remove your Tethius. Then you got Soul Release. This helps against Lightsworn, Frogs, and basically anything trying to set up its graveyard with a lot of stuff. It's a really great card to draw into off of your Tethius or off of your Neo-Parshath. So it's one of the, I think it's better than DD Crow because it's just so much more high impact. One Proto Cyber Dragon, this is for machines. You can tutor it off of your Shining Angel, so you get a full 4 copies of the Proto Cyber Dragon. Don't really need to play Cyber Dragon because oftentimes you're going to Valhalla into a big monster anyway, And then Cyber Dragon will be dead. So I think Proto Cyber Dragon's a little bit better there for sure. And then, yeah, I mean, True Nade and Space Typhoon, just extra back removal. Triple Mask comes in against Frogs. So against Frogs, you usually side out like Decree, Heavy Storm, and then like one other random card like Cyber Valley or some shit. And you just bring in 3 masks, and it's really hard for them to win. So the general concept is we have a lot of continuous stuff, and you've really overtaxed your opponent's Dust Tornadoes and their Space Typhoons. And I think that that's the best way to approach this. If your opponent is Dust Tornadoing or Space Typhooning your Royal Decree, then they're not doing it to your Valhalla, and vice versa. And then on top of that, you have a lot of redundancy in the monsters you can summon off of Valhalla. And then if you, for some reason, can't summon them off of Valhalla, then you have Trade-In to convert the Splendid Venus. And then you can always tribute summon Tethius or Air Knight. Neo-Parshath is the only one that like really bricks. Christia can special summon itself, obviously. But Neo-Parshath is the only one that like really bricks if your Valhalla gets popped. So he's kind of the one that you have to be a little bit careful of. And he's also the weakest one. So he's the one if you do side like one copy of him out, it's not the weirdest thing in the world. But I usually try to keep the siding super minimal because you need to keep your fairy count high. And you also need to keep your synergy high. Going second, I'll sometimes side out some of the trade-in stuff because it's a little bit... Like, I'll side out one trade-in going second, for example, because it's a little bit less reliable to stick a Tethius and then go for the 8-star pitch to trade-in going second, that sort of thing. And then going first, you just want to keep in all of your combo pieces to try and hit that Tethius. Anyway, I played it in an 8-man. Let's get into the matches. First match is up against Ben. I win the rock, paper, scissors, which is always nice. I draw my hands, and my opening hand has the combo. So that's already off the bat really, really nice. Plus we have Heavy Storm for the next turn. I'm going to go Hecatrice, grab Valhalla, special summon out Tethius, trade in, pitch Splendid Venus, draw into a couple of fairies. Soul of Purity and Light, like I said, one of the best things you can draw after you resolve Tethius because you can summon it. I'll reveal Soul of Purity, draw another fairy, reveal Shining Angel, draw another fairy, reveal Herald of Orange, and draw into trade in. So we get to start the game with 9 cards. We haven't even normal summoned yet, which is fantastic. We can go ahead and set Shining Angel and pass the turn. So even if my whole board gets Black Rosed here, or destroyed, or removed, like let's say Brain Caius, like some crazy shit happens, I still have 6 cards to play the game with, and they're a really good 6 cards. Trade-In is a little bit dead right now, but it's basically like I got this Herald of Orange Light and a Shining Angel for free, or the Valhalla for free, or something like that, which is really, really nice. Obviously, and yeah, opponent's just going to concede. He can't really play through that many cards, and he knows about most of them, so he knows what he can play through. He decides it's easier to just concede than to play that game out, because if he can't out the Tethius, then I get even more draw steps with it, and that's just even more cards drawn, basically. And if he knows he can't out the Tethius, then it's better for him to concede, to not tell me what he's playing, and to just get a chance to go first. So going second, it's a lot different, right? Because your opponent will they'll have opportunities to get Dust Tornado. So Dust Tornado and Space Typhoon can interact with the Valhalla and the Tethius. So that's really difficult. He's going to start off with normal summon DD Warrior Lady Setsu. So I do have the combo going second here, but he does have Trap Dust Shoot. So like I said, he has his ways to interact. So he's going to be able to take a card from our hands here. So he's going to go ahead and take the Hecatrice, which means he either has an out for the Valhalla or he has an out for the Tethius, which is a little annoying. I think I'm going to try to lead with Cyber Valley Mind Control, because that way, I don't know, I saved the Valhalla Tethius for last, because I think that that's the most resilient. In hindsight, I probably should have led with Valhalla Tethius first, but I don't know. Yeah, in hindsight, I should have led with the Valhalla, because if it's just Dust Tornado, then I can resolve Mind Control Cyber Valley and be crushing, especially if I draw into another Valhalla. This is really why I like Cyber Valley and Mind Control, is because if they out your Valhalla, it's like, okay, I haven't normaled yet, I can Cyber Valley Mind Control, and then if you hit another Valhalla, you can actually just do it again. So it lets you play through like your opponent's interruptions, basically. But I make a mistake here, and I decide to go for Cyber Valley Mind Control first. I get a little bit like too antsy about this Valhalla Tethius stuff, which I think is a mistake. On Mind Control, he chains Regeki Break. He pitches O Oversoul, so it tells me he's playing Hero Beat, or a variation of Hero Beat. We're going to resolve the Mind Control, but now this is a little bit awkward, because he popped the Cyber Valley, and now I can't Valhalla Tethius this turn. It's pretty awkward, and we're going to take a big hit here. He's got Honest. So that's even more annoying, like things I have to play through. Pretty annoying to have to play through Dust Shoot plus an Interrupt plus DD Warrior Lady plus Honest. It's like, okay, that's difficult. I draw into another Valhalla here, so Pretty silly of me to not lead on Valhalla there. That was a big mistake. I go ahead and set the Honest to try and bait his DD Warrior Lady. He's got Elemental Hero Neos Alias off the top, which is pretty good for him because that's additional pressure. He's going to be able to banish. He can connect for 19. And now I'm in a bad spot. I drawn a Hecatrice, so I've drawn multiple Valhallas here, which this just happens some percentage of the time. I'm going to special out Valhalla because you do play the full 6 copies. So you do draw like 3 or 4 of them in some games. And Hecatrice can be converted like if you have... I mean, here I'm just going to set it to save my life. But he has Grand Mole, so we're going to go to the next. But I learned a lot about his deck this time. He's got Dust Shoot, he's got Regeki Break, and so I'm like thinking, okay, I could definitely play with the Royal Decrees. I can definitely bring in maybe even the Herald of Green Lights, because they can negate Gemini Spark, which is kind of one of the most annoying cards for this deck to deal with, is Gemini Spark. And I could also deal with like E-Call, that sort of stuff. So I could consider bringing in Herald of Green here. I could also consider bringing in Mask of Restrict to shut off Gemini Spark, but I feel like that's a little bit counterintuitive to the Royal Decrease strategy. And Mask of Restrict can sometimes be a little bit annoying if I'm trying to like brain his monster and sack it for Tethius. I cite out the Air Knight Parshath in this matchup. He's not very good versus 1900 Vanillas because he himself is 1900. He's your weakest payoff fairy. I found that like 13 payoff fairies is like a good number, but Air Knight Parshath is definitely the 13th, right? Like, so you cut him in this matchup. But stuff like Neo-Parshath it's just really dominant in this matchup. He can run away with the game if you can just stick one and get a couple draws off. I get to go first, which is nice. That means I can summon my monsters under Bottomless. I open up with Valhalla as well as another Valhalla. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, this is pretty freaking strong. Let's just go Valhalla and bring out that Neo-Parshath. So I'm leading on Neo-Parshath here. If my opponent wants to make Catastor or something like that, then we can sort of figure things out from there. Deep Sea Diva can give him access to Catastor. But Neo-Parshath, I think, is kind of just like the one where, like, if he doesn't have an out, I'm probably going to win immediately. Whereas if he does have an out, it doesn't really matter which of these monsters I summon. I could have summoned the Christia to play around Deep Sea Diva a little bit better. But, yeah, I don't know. Maybe summoning Christia there is better. I just didn't want to get into a situation where he like kills a Christia and I'm draw locked another turn. That would be a little bit annoying. I can always summon the Christia later. But it is pretty bad if he does have Diva into Catastor. I figured because he has the Oversoul stuff, he might not have Diva, but in all honesty, Oversoul probably means he's for sure playing Diva. So a little bit weird on my part to go for this. Anyway, he draws Stratos, he normals it, he searches, he grabs Alias. I probably should have gone for Christia first, even though Neo-Parshath is like peak greed. He sets back row passes. And I'm like, all right, main phase 1, do you have anything? Might as well just attack here. And then that's going to connect and get us another draw. So this Neo-Parshath's already replaced the Valhalla -1. And this is why this card is so good in this deck, is because it immediately replaces the card disadvantage of using Valhalla. And then your opponent later on has to use a real card on the Valhalla. And you're just up cards on them, which is really nice. Go ahead and pass. He summons Alias, passes back to us. I don't want a Heavy Storm here because if he chains Gemini Spark, then like, what am I doing? He sparks my Neo-Parshath, and then how does my turn look? I'm Hecatrice, pitch, grab Valhalla, and I'm just special summoning a big monster and hitting with that, and he has 5 cards in hand on his turn. It doesn't really make the position better for us. I'd rather save the Heavy Storm plus Valhalla for later. I'd rather force the Gemini Spark first. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to force the Gemini Spark with the Neo-Parshath by attacking, and that's exactly what happens. He Gemini Sparks, targets the Parshath, and I'm like, okay, that's good. Maybe my Valhalla can bait another back row here. And it does. It baits a Dust Tornado. And at this point, it's like I can just kind of wait on this Heavy Storm. I don't necessarily have to use it. But I think I decide to. I think I decide to use it. No, I decide to just go for Soul of Purity and Light. Yeah. So the next follow-up play is I want to Hecatrice to get the second Light in the grave. Search a follow-up Valhalla. This will also make it so I have less Valhallas to draw into. So my next top deck will be pretty likely to be live. Special Summon Soul of Purity. That's actually a pretty difficult monster for his deck to deal with. He can't Hero Blast it. He can't attack over it very easily without spending an Honest. So this card's just very forcing. It's just a big beater that like is difficult for his deck to get through. And then next turn, if he doesn't out it, I can even like Heavy Storm, sack it for Tethius. You know, like it's totally chill. He wrote us for DD Warrior Lady, which is pretty fine. Sets the Warrior Lady, sets a new back row. We draw another Hecatrice. So this game we did draw 5 Valhalla pieces. Pretty unlucky, but not the end of the world, right? Let's just attack into the DD Warrior Lady, banish, go for Heavy Storm. He's going to chain Hero Blast, so he does get value there. But now we can go pitch, activate Valhalla, last Valhalla out of the deck, special summon out Tethius, and say, answer this or lose. He has Alias. He's forced to spark the Tethius right away. But like, look at this situation. My opponent's had Space Typhoon, Dust Tornado, Gemini Spark, and we've been able to play through it with just using one Valhalla total. That's like kind of the strength of like Soul of Purity in this deck, and also the strength of like just getting to go first and having the guy in play, because they're forced to use their spot removal on the guy and not on the Valhalla, basically. Sets back row. We draw on a Splendid Venus. Let's just put that Splendid Venus into play. Tries to Solemn, but you can't actually Solemn Judgment this because it's special summoned off the effect of a card. And Solemn Judgment can't negate effects. It can only negate inherent summons, inherent normal summons, that sort of thing. Inherent normal summon, that's not a real thing. Inherent special summon, sorry, like Dark Arm Dragon, or like if I was to special summon Christia with the 4 fairy condition, you could Solemn Judgment that, but you can't Solemn Judgment an effect off of Valhalla here. So we're just going to be able to connect for 2,800 and pass the turn back. If he outs this, it's kind of awkward because we can't pitch this Hecatrice. There's no fail-defined in Edison. So we'll be forced to, like, just summon another Venus. But that's, like, totally fine, honestly. He sets, he summons Grammel, and the Hecatrice is actually going to be pretty clutch here. We can summon it, swing into the Grammel. He's going to bounce it. Totally chill. Attack for 2,800. Connects. Totally chill. He's going to go Birthright, bring out the Alias. Kind of a suboptimal card. I think this card is... you could play better cards than Birthright. You could play more Oversoul, for example, which is just a better card than Birthright. He draws into his 3rd Spark, and that's going to allow him to out the Splendid Venus, but it's like trying to hold back the Flood with a bucket. He can then Future Fusion, but it's going to be quite slow when you're sitting there at 1,400 life points, and I've got multiple lethal threats. And I know about the Solemn Judgment, so he better have more back row, or else he's just kind of forced to Solemn the Hecatrice, and that's going to put us to 4 fairies, and we can special Christia and guarantee the game. So yeah, Valhalla activates, special Venus, normal summon Hecatrice. He's going to Solemn the Hecatrice, special summon Christia, and then, yeah, pretty good stuff. So that's round 1 of the 8-man. We were able to play through quite a bit this game, through Triple Spark, through Dust Tornado, Space Typhoon, all with the Valhallas. And Neo-Parshath really pulling its weight there, drawing us an extra card and just putting us really far ahead on board. The cool thing about these monsters is that they like force immediate action. And if your opponent doesn't have the immediate action, then they fall really far behind. And then when they do finally find the action, by then you usually drawn into another like big beater, like another Splendid Venus or an Archer Christia to go into. Let's get into round 2 of the 8-man. So we won the first round. Captain Keebler also won his first round. Did we win the rock, paper, scissors? We did win the rock, paper, scissors, and this hand is like unbelievably bad. This has like all of the weirdest like cards that don't really work without big monsters, which is like Mausoleum, Trade-In. Mausoleum being the worst of the cards. Valhalla is obviously infinitely better than Mausoleum, mostly because A, Mausoleum costs life points, but B, Mausoleum, your opponent can use it as well. So if you Mausoleum out of Tethius, you'll sometimes be put into awkward situations where your opponent will Mausoleum out of Caius and crash with your Tethius. And it's like, it's not great for you. It's fine, but it's just not like, it's just not ideal because you were the one who was forced to use the Mausoleum, whereas your opponent only had to spend 1 card to out your 2-card combo, basically. He starts off with set 2 and pass. I'm going to set Heavy Storm and just pass back. I don't really feel the need to mind control in the dark, especially when there is a back row. I could mind control it, and then it could be like a Treeborn Frog, and then I wouldn't be able to synchro with my Herald of Orange, and I'd just be out my mind control for no real reason. And considering that mind control is my only play in this hand, I'm kind of chilling on it right now. I'm kind of just like waiting for the opponent to commit here. Now we could get randomly OTK'd, but I don't really know, We draw into Honest, which is a pretty good draw here. But I am just going to go ahead and flip the Heavy Storm, set the call, and pass the turn. I think, once again, just play a little bit slower on the mind control. We can figure out what to do with these cards later. I don't really want to tell him what I'm playing yet by activating the Hecatrice. Even though technically it does thin a Valhalla out of my deck, I think that information alone will give him way too much to work with. He's going to set 2 more back row pass to us. We're going to draw a Royal Decree, which is very nice. I'm going to set it and pass. That means in the future, our Valhalla play is going to resolve. So both of us having a pretty slow start. He has a lot of back row. He has like a lot of defensive monsters. He's going to set more back row. I'm going to end phase Decree, but then he's going to chain Typhoon to pop my Decree. So we're going to have to play through those 2 back row unless I draw a Heavy Storm specifically. I draw into Shining Angel, so first kind of quote-unquote engine card. I'm going to normal Honest and attack his set monster. And the reason I did this is because I knew what he was playing. I finished my last match before he finished his, and I was able to check into his match and see that he was playing Reptilians. So I know he's playing Reptilian Quick Draw, which is like a card path deck. And they do play that 0/0 that like makes your monster 0 attack. And so I think it's best to attack into it with Honest, because no matter what, even if my monster gets put to 0 attack, I can bounce it main phase 2, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to mind control the Reptilian Gardna just to force the offering to the Snake Deity here. The game plan was to mind control his Reptilian Gardna, search for Valhalla, special summon out Herald. But now that I think about it, the Gardna would be in play, and I wouldn't be able to do that anyway. So the fact that he offerings here is really funny, because we actually would have just had to hand back the Necro Gardna. So this was a really, really tactical bait on my part. But yeah, he pops the Call of the Haunted, and he searches for Reptilian Skillet. Like, yes, he's still up +1, but it's really funny that my play there was actually terrible. I like couldn't do anything there. If let's say the mind control did resolve, right? I was just 100% doing it to bait an offering to the Snake Deity, and it just worked out. So lucky for us that he chained it. Because you assume there would be some type of conversion or whatever. Anyway, we're gonna Hecatrice, grab Valhalla now, and then we're able to play the Valhalla and special summon the Shining Angel in attack position. Reason it's in attack position is because we have Honest. I don't want him to be able to attack over it with something like Sangan. That would be a little bit annoying. He's just going to pass the turn back. We're going to draw Christia, which is pretty lit. We can go ahead and normal summon Herald of Orange, make Bryonic. Bryonic, pitch the 4th fairy, bounces back row, special Christia, add back Honest, and make a bit of a weird play here. I don't pitch the monster. I pitch the trade-in. I'm not sure if that's a good play or not. I just wanted to keep the Honest for some fucking reason. I don't really know why. I just wanted to keep it. Anyway, we attack for 3,100, and we say, good luck, have fun. Opponent has 8 cards. There's a lot of cards that can deal with our board with 8 cards. This is not an unbreakable board by any means, especially not from the deck that plays like offering to the Snake Deity. Like, just having that and a Reptile is enough for him here. So he's going to go ahead and brain control the Bryonic, dropping himself to 2,100. Pitching my Christia. So that's nice. It's 2 cards to out nothing, basically. So it's kind of a +2 for us. He's going to normal summon the Reptilian Skilla, hit us for 4,100. Scylla? I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Skia, perhaps? Anyway, we take a bunch of damage here, which is always not great, right? He's going to bounce the Bryonic, pitching the Gardna, and pass back to us. And now the card advantage has evened out. We have 5 cards to his 5 cards. But that being said, it's a little bit annoying that I didn't pitch the fairy last turn, so I can't really special the Christia again super easily. I can use the Valhalla to bring it out, though, which is fine. I attack, he lets it go to damage, and the Honest is going to be lethal. So no matter what, it worked out well for us. He does have Call of the Haunted there, but Call of the Haunted is doing you no favors. So cool engine from the opponent, and the fact that he did have brain control there was good. But he just didn't have quite enough to sort of, I don't know how to say it, put me out of the game, because I specifically had Valhalla. Even if he did have, let's say, like brain control, Caius, something like that, that would have been interesting, but I'm not exactly sure how that would have worked out. Let me think. If he had brain Caius, what is he doing? He's braining the Bryonic, or maybe he brains Christia, because we have 3 fairies. He brains Christia. He goes Caius, banish the Valhalla, run over the Bryonic. But then we have more life points to work with, and we also have Mausoleum Christia, so we still win with Christia plus Honest, because he's still at 21. So, yeah, even if he had, like, Caius there or whatever, like, decent card, I mean, it's pretty legit setup from us there. That's gonna be a dub, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, this hand is a little bit awkward, but we do have the trade-in plus Call of the Haunted combo, which is nice. He's gonna set his 2 cards and pass. I'm gonna go Hecatrice to search Valhalla, just thin one out of the deck so we don't draw into it. Thinning them early is pretty good. And then trade-in, we find Herald plus Christia. So my game plan's kind of forming. I can Valhalla out Neo-Parshath, or I could just Herald of Orange and then set up for a 90 Christia. I think I'm going to go with the Valhalla out Neo-Parshath, because if this connects, then we get extra draws. And what do you know? It connects. the opponent not using their Card Trooper effect to mill is really interesting to me. I don't know why you would play Card Trooper if you didn't want to mill, unless he already has his Dandelions in hand. But if he has Dandelions in hand, then that's perfect for me, because this guy eats Dandelions for breakfast. Anyway, we both get to draw a card, and the card I draw is Honest. So I'm looking real stacked here, real set up. Set the Call of the Haunted, pass the turn back. He brain controls, which is a little bit annoying. He attacks, but then we do have Call of the Haunted for Splendid Venus. He's got Heavy Storm main phase 2 that's going to kill our Splendid Venus, and then he's going to sack for Vanity's Fiend. Now, Vanity's Fiend is really good against our deck normally, but we do have Honest, which is the out. So we can go for a normal summon Herald of Orange and attack. If he has Mirror Force, he's forced to use it, but he doesn't have it. So main phase 2, we can now special summon Christia because we have 4 fairies. And we can actually use this as an opportunity to add back our Honest. So looking pretty strong here. His back row's Offering to the Snake Deity, a little bit narrow. It can answer our board, but Christia just comes back infinitely. So pretty difficult for him to super easily deal with it. Now I can tell his back row's Offering because he summoned the Gardna. So we'll just go battle phase, attack, force the Offering now. He's going to be able to get a +1 here, but we get Christia next turn, and we can just summon it, and we're at 8,000, so we're not really threatened by anything. He's got the Reptilian guy, the guy that I was thinking about last game. Here we can add back the Hecatrice, because that's an easy way to guarantee ourselves 4 fairies in the grave at any given moment, and a way to get another Valhalla. Once again, poke it with Honest, force it to go to attack position against the Christia, so they're taking big damage. Pass the turn back, he sets. We draw into a Splendid Venus. Not the best here, but still okay. Attack the Reptilian with Honest. He has Mirror Force, which is a little bit annoying. I'm going to be honest. No pun intended. Because now we lose our Honest. Anyway, he's able to set another back row and pass back to us. We special Christia, add back the Honest. Once again, being in this spot, Honest attacks. He's going to take 1100. Main phase 2, I'm going to bounce the Honest and pass. Now this is the turn where things get like kind of interesting. Because you'd think we're just crushing here, right? Like the game is just super duper over. But if you look at our hand, it's a little bit awkward if there's like a Caius or like some other spot removal or whatever. Anyway, sacks for Caius, and now we're in like a weird spot. It's like, do we Herald the Caius or do we let this resolve? If we let this resolve, we still have our Herald and whatever it is we'd be pitching to the Herald, whether that be Splendid Venus or Hecatrice or Soul Purity or whatever, which obviously is very good. We can save it for a later threat. If we Herald now, and he has a way to pop the Christia, then we go -1 on the Herald, obviously. Well, it's 2 for 2, because we take Caius and the Reptilian for the Herald and whatever we pitch. But then we go to 5 fairies. We do have a way to go to 4 fairies if we pitch Hecatrice, grab Valhalla, special summon Soul of Purity and Light. But if he has a way to put the Soul of Purity and Light on the summon into the graveyard, specifically Solemn or Torrential Tribute, then we go back up to 5 fairies, which is annoying. Also, if we Herald of Orange Light here and he has Deck Devastation Virus, he can chain it. So whatever I pitch right now, I want it to be a card that gets hit by Deck Devastation Virus. I want to keep both Soul of Purity Light and Splendid Venus. And the best card to keep with Splendid Venus is actually Hecatrice, so I'm going to pitch the Honest and the Herald of Orange. But this is a really weird moment where I probably should have just let this resolve. Anyway, he flips Raikou, he targets the Christia, it goes to the top, he mills 3, he mills his Dust Shoot, he mills a Debris Dragon, he sets another back row and passes back to us. Now, in theory, we should be okay here, right? Because we draw another Christia, which is not great, because we already had a big dude to summon off the Valhalla, but it's... Oh, no, we knew about this Christia going to the top, because, yeah, Raikou, it's not another Christia, yeah, never mind. We're actually okay here. We go Hecatrice, search Valhalla, right? Grab Valhalla, activate Soul of Purity and Light, banish Special Soul, but he's got Torrential Tribute specifically. So it was either Torrential or Solemn there that punishes that sort of line. And unfortunately for us, he also has Space Typhoon for Valhalla. So he had a lot of really good back row lining up this game, on top of, like, you know, the Brain, Heavy Storm, Vanity's Fiend, a lot of forcing cards that just worked out really well in his favor. And we're just kind of stuck in a weird spot. I don't really want to summon the Cyber Valley because I don't really know what his deck can do versus like 0 attack monsters. But in hindsight, I probably should have summoned it. We're getting pretty low on Valhallas. We only have 2 left, or we only have 1 left. That being said, we do have 2 Hecatrice to search them. So we have 3 Valhallas left and a Mausoleum as a way to summon the Splendid Venus. And we have 2 trade-ins left. I might have sided out one of the trade-ins. I'm not really sure because I went second this game. Anyway, he just draws and passes. We draw Royal Decree. I'm going to set that and pass. He's going to go ahead and activate Quick Draw. So after all is said and done, he does find Quick Draw Dandy, which is really good pressure. He's going to be able to Synchro into Drill Warrior and attack us directly for 2,400. And our back row doesn't deal with Synchro Monsters because the rest of our deck deals with Synchro Monsters. He pitches Gores and banishes the Drill. We draw Herald of Orange Light, which is perfect because it's an out to the Drill Warrior. So now at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to summon Cyber Valley because no matter what, like if I draw another monster I want to normal summon, I'm going to wish I had Cyber Valley in play, basically. So I'm going to summon the Cyber Valley. He has no cards. Drill's going to try to come back. We can pitch our Splendid Venus plus the Herald to stop Drill from coming back entirely. But he top decks Reptilian Vasky, which is like kind of a really long sequence of perfect top decks from him. Starting off with like the Torrential and stuff. And it really punishes us for summoning the Cyber Valley. Had we not summoned the Cyber Valley there, I think we would have been okay, honestly. Anyway, this turn we draw Brain Control, and yeah, like feeling kind of silly for summoning the Cyber Valley. So after all of that, me being patient and then waiting for the wrong opportune moment to summon the Cyber Valley ends up costing us the game, which is crazy because during this game we were super far ahead. But it took a long sequence of power cards and a really strong combination of Quick Draw Dandy to put him back in the game. And a weird turn where I'm not really sure if there was a better way to play it by letting that Caius resolve. I'm not sure if we should have let that Caius resolve or not. That was an interesting moment for sure. But going into game 3, I do get to go first, which is really nice. And I get to side in all of the cards that now I know more about his deck, so I can just bring in like the Decrees and just be fine. Anyway, this game we start off with Heavy Storm. We don't have access to Valhalla quite yet, but the second we find it, we're crushing. And his deck is really slow, so we have infinite time. Set Heavy Storm. He does have Typhoon, but that's a Typhoon that's not going to hit my Decree. That's a Typhoon that's not going to hit my Valhalla, and that's a Typhoon that's not going to hit my Mausoleum, which makes me pretty happy. So generally speaking, I don't mind setting Pro Heavy in this deck because if it does eat a Space Typhoon or a Dust Tornado, that's a Space Typhoon or a Dust Tornado that's not hitting my key combo. He has Quick Draw Dandelion, which is crazy. So he opened up with Typhoon, Quick Draw Dandelion. I wish I opened this nice in dedicated Quick Draw decks. He makes Drill Warrior. He attacks for 2,400. We're going to take that. He's going to pitch a monster, or not a monster, he's going to pitch Allure of Darkness to banish the Drill Warrior, and he's going to set 2 cards. You would not believe the 2 cards he fucking draws. What an insane opening. He has, like, Trap, Dust Shoot, Mind Crush. Anyway, we draw into, I believe, what was it, Cyber Valley or something like that? He Trap, Dust Shoots, and he's forced to take Herald of Orange, which is good for him, because now I can no longer stop the Drill. So I need to top deck and out to Drill literally next turn, or I lose. And I have a lot of opportunities to draw into it because any Valhalla gets me closer. There's a lot of like good draws. Christia doesn't quite do it, but you know, I have 2 turns to do it basically. I go ahead and normal summon the Honest to pop his token. Just keep the token out of play. Bounce the Honest back, set the Decree. And now if he doesn't Mind Crush me here, the Mind Crush is dead for the rest of the game because I have Decree. And he can't Mind Crush me because he has no cards in hand. So thankfully for us, we have the Royal Decree for the Mind Crush at the very least. And so him opening like the absolute nuts, absolute nuts, it's mitigated by the fact that he had to empty his hand and he wasn't able to use the Mind Crush. He's going to add back Dandelion. He's going to be able to pitch Dandelion, make 2 tokens. The only reason you would ever do this main phase 1 is if you drew Vasky specifically. And lo and behold, he did. He drew Vasky specifically. And I'm like, okay, that's fucking lovely. We draw into Shining Angel, which isn't ideal, but we can run over the Vasky and use Honest. Now I'm feeling okay because the Drill isn't dealing me 2,400 this turn. It's only dealing me 12. So we've bought ourselves an extra turn, basically. Drill adds back Dandy. Drill can attack me directly for 12. He's going to go ahead and pitch the Dandelion, get 2 tokens, pass the turn back to keep his Mind Crush live. He's going to try to Mind Crush, but we've got Royal Decree, so it doesn't really matter. We've got Cyber Valley now, so a couple of opportunities for us here. I think the best way to go about this is to Cyber Valley banish Shining Angel. And while that does seem kind of weird and it makes it so our mind control's like kind of oddly dead, I think it's best. I did side out one of my Cyber Valleys, so once this Cyber Valley is gone, the mind control only really works with Herald of Orange. So it's going to kind of kill our mind control for this game, but I think this is the best play because if we draw specifically Hecatrice Christia or Valhalla Christia, then we're going to be happy that we didn't, that we cleared the Shining Angel out of the way so we could Valhalla. We draw into Herald of Orange Light, which is perfect. Because that can negate the Drill, and we basically just need to fade like 1 turn of the opponent doing anything too crazy. Here we're going to pitch Herald plus Tethius, which I'm not sure if I should have pitched Tethius or Neo-Parshath, but Neo-Parshath is better against the tokens if we draw Valhalla, so that was kind of my plan there. We draw into Tethius again. We go ahead and banish 2, bring out the Soul of Purity and Light, attack the token, main phase 2, sack for Tethius, say, you have a couple of cards, answer my Tethius, or give me the opportunity to draw a bunch of cards. Anyway, he sets a monster. We don't draw a fairy, sadly, but we do draw Grammel, which is an excellent card, so I can't really complain. Grammel Decree is like one of the hardest locks to break through in Edison format when your opponent also has additional pressure. Here, he's going to flip the Reptilian. He's going to attack into the Tethius, but his Vasky is gone. I think they usually only play like 1 or 2 Vaskys, so I'm not exactly certain what he hopes to do by putting me to 0 main phase 2. And it looks like he doesn't really have a play. So here we draw into a fairy. We're able to reveal that, and we draw into a Valhalla, which is nice. I can Grammel, just bounce this guy, switch the Tethius to defense, pass the turn. We're dead to so much here. We're dead to Caius, we're dead to Brain Control. But, you know, does he have it? I guess we'll find out. He sacks for Vanities, so not quite. And Grammel does a pretty good job against the Vanities, so kind of big chillin' here. We draw into Hecatrice, which is really nice. We can go ahead and Grammel, bounce the Vanities. And once again, we're dead to Brain Control, but we're no longer dead to Caius. And if he had Brain Control, he would have used it on our Tethius last turn to go for game. So I go for Valhalla. Valhalla special summon out Neo-Parshath. I know he still has a set monster, so getting the Neo-Parshath into play right now is ideal. He basically has to top deck Brain Control to deal with it. He sets a monster and passes. We draw into Christia. That's going to be perfect for us because I have 3 fairies and I have a Hecatrice that I can pitch. So I pitch the Hecatrice, grab the Valhalla, go ahead and special summon Christia, add back Herald of Orange, normal summon Grammel, and attack for game. Thankfully for us, opponent drew pretty dead under Decree, Solemn Judgment, Torrential Tribute. While normally really, really good cards against us, not going to cut it up against Royal Decree as well as the offering to the Snake Deity. So I really do like Royal Decree in this deck. I think it's at its best in this deck. And we get to move on to the finals, which is cool. So yeah, game 1 up against Hero Beat-ish, kind of. Game 2 up against Reptilian, Quick Draw-ish, kind of. A few other meme decks, but I guess Hero Beat is kind of like, it's about as real as it's going to get, you know. The Oversoul stuff is probably just in place of like, I'm not even really sure. Anyway, this game, we open up with Trigodia, and we are playing up against, we lose Rock, Paper, Scissors, which is tough. He sets 2 and passes. We don't want to put Tethius into play quite yet. We actually want to use Trigodia. The reason we want to use Trigodia is because he's at his strongest when we have a handful of cards. So the opponent's going to go ahead and flip the Violet Witch, attack, and we're going to special Trigodia. Plus, if I can bait the opponent's back row with Trigodia, then that means I can, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I can safely stick the Valhalla Tethius afterwards. Anyway, he sets a new back row, and then he dust shoots us. I'm like, they always have the dust shoot. Always with the dust shoot. Anyway, he looks at our hand, and it's actually pretty funny. He's forced to take the Hecatrice here. Because if he doesn't take the Hecatrice, then we can pitch the Hecatrice to Trag, steal his Violet Witch, and then whichever one he leaves us with, either Herald of Orange or Tethius, we can either synchro with the Violet Witch or sacrifice it for Tethius, and that puts him in a really bad spot. Anyway, we've entered into a little bit of a stalemate here. I know he's playing a Lone Fire Blossom deck. I don't know which Lone Fire Blossom deck. I don't want to give him Lone Fire Blossom yet. We don't really have a way to deal with that effectively outside of having to Herald pitch our Tethius, which is really awkward. He switches the Violet Witch, sets monster, sets back or passes. We draw Mind Control. Again, don't really want to get too crazy with it right now. We could Mind Control the Violet Witch and try to synchro with the Herald, but then we put ourselves down to 4 cards, and then Lone Fire to Titanial can actually attack over our Trigodia, and then it's like we wasted the Trigodia for no real reason. Anyway, we draw into Sopal here, which is pretty interesting. I'm just going to set the call and pass. He's going to go ahead and set a monster and pass. This is the strength of Trigodia. He just gives you infinite time to draw your combo pieces. We draw another Valhalla. I'm just going to set it and pass. Here he's going to go for a Pro Heavy Storm just so he can set more back row. And that's going to be pretty good for him. I mean, 2 for 2, but it does get a strong Call of the Haunted. So, and killing a Valhalla is always nice for him. Hitting the Bottomless is good for us. He's going to normal Lone Fire, go into Titanial and Defense. And here if he has no back row and we draw an 8-star, we can actually kind of crush, but he has more back row, so it's a little bit awkward. I'm just going to set Shining Angel and pass. He's going to go ahead and trade in, pitch Amaryllis. And now it's coming together exactly what it is he's playing. He's playing Amaryllis with Violet Witch. Violet Witch is interesting in Amaryllis because it can search for Amaryllis to unbrick trade in. It can also search for Lone Fire Blossom. So it has a lot of good targets in this deck as well as Dandelion. He's going to flip Botanical Lion, switch the Dandelion to attack. Titanial is now operating on all cylinders. Shining Angel is going to go ahead and grab us a Cyber Valley to hopefully draw us into Heavy Storm or Royal Decree. We find Neo-Parshath, which can maybe help us later on. He's going to go ahead and bring out the Amaryllis. We draw into another Cyber Valley here. I'm just going to normal summon Cyber Valley. Try to mind control the Titanial. This mind control I'm using as a spot removal spell at this point. Whatever he sacrifices here, whether it be Amaryllis or Dandelion or whatever, he's not going to get a lot of value out of it. There's no other plants in the graveyard for the Amaryllis to come back. So that's 800 points of burn he's not going to get. And if he sacrifices the Dandelion, then it's just like, all right, I used mind control to kill Dandelion before he could get tokens. He's actually going to sacrifice the Titanial, and I think this is a pretty smart play. Because if he had sacrificed the Dandelion, for example, I could chain Herald of Orange Light to negate the Titanial. But there's really no reason for, like, that just doesn't matter. And then the Dandelion could give him token. It's like, he should have probably just sacrificed the Dandelion, honestly. But it doesn't really matter. It kind of tells me he has Call of the Haunted. A little bit of a tell there. We're going to use Cyber Valley, banish, draw a card. We draw into Splendid Venus, which is nice because that's a draw for trade-in. The closer we get to Heavy Storm here, the better. He double sacks for another Titanial, which is totally chill. We draw into Herald of Orange, and I'm like, all right. We can trade in Splendid Venus, hopefully find Royal Decree or Heavy Storm. And we find neither. So 17 cards into our deck. We haven't found our one Royal Decree and our one Heavy Storm. Starting to get a little bit annoying, but I think we're at the point where we need to make something happen. Otherwise, it's just going to get too difficult. So let's go ahead and switch the Tragodia to attack. This is a 4,800 Tragodia. So he's absolutely massive. Going to attack the Titanial. He's going to Mirror Force, so we baited one back row that way. We've got Valhalla. We're going to activate Valhalla, special summon out Tethius, normal summon Herald of Orange. He's forced to compulsory here, but I think he makes a mistake, a very crucial mistake. He compulsories the Tethius. Now, because he compulsories the Tethius, we can actually extend beyond this, banishing our 2 lights in the grave for Shovel of Purity and Light. And we can go ahead and synchro into Colossal Fighter. Synchroing into Colossal Fighter in defense position is an interesting choice from us. It means he can pop his Amaryllis to burn us for 800, but otherwise he'd be able to attack over us with Bot Lion, so it's a little bit like, I don't really know. Anyway, it's good that our Colossal Fighter is 2,800 because that number lines up really well versus Titanial and Bot Lion. He attacks the Colossal Fighter. It's just going to come back. He's going to deal us 800. Sets a back row, brings out the Amaryllis, passes the turn back. We draw into Christia, which is fantastic. So if we can ever stick a Christia, we're probably just winning this game. But this was a crazy stall out match that worked out. Anyway, switch the Colossal to attack. Colossal's going to attack the Titanial. It's going to pop the Titanial. Colossal's going to die, come back. We're going to attack the Bot Lion. He's going to Call of the Haunted back the Titanial. This is a misplay on his part. This is actually just throwing away the Call of the Haunted for 300 points of burn, which I don't think is worth it in any dimension. The Colossal's going to die and come back. Then we can just crash into the Titanial again, come back, and then kill the Bot Lion for free, come back, and kill a token. So it's like we got to kill the Titanial, the Call, and the Bot Lion instead of just the Titanial and the Bot Lion and a token. So he loses his Call for no real reason there. I mean, 300 damage is 300 damage from a burn deck, but I think it's not really worth it to start trading cards for 300 damage when your opponent's at 6,100. Maybe later in the game it might matter more, but it just doesn't matter here at all. Main phase 2, I'm going to set the Hecatrice. I'm not really sure if this is the right play. I have 2 fairies in grave. If he does activate an effect, we can chain Herald of Orange. The reason I set it is because I'm really nervous about Mark of the Rose. If he does draw Mark of the Rose, then we die on the spot, so it's a little bit awkward. He's going to Foolish Send Plague. That's fine. We can always Herald of Orange, whatever synchro play he wants to go for. He's going to Amaryllis, and it's going to burn us for 800. A little bit ugly there, but he sets one, brings back the Amaryllis again. We draw into yet another Brick Monster here, which is really ugly. We're going to attack the token, and then main phase 2, I'm actually going to sack for Tethius and pass back. I'm not sure if this is the right play either, but again, we need to find something that'll help us get this Christian play ASAP. He's going to Brain Control, and that's going to be lethal damage no matter how you cut it. He can Amaryllis deal us 800, and then we can Herald negate, but then he'll bring back the Amaryllis in the end phase. Maybe I choked this. Maybe I should have negated the burn damage effect and then tried to see what was up, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think I punted there. I think I prematurely conceded. I think I can Herald of Orange Light the burn damage, and then if I find another Herald of Orange Light with the Tethius draws, then I can Herald of Orange Light the next Amaryllis and hopefully put Christia into play. But I don't think it was going to be possible. I don't think it was going to be possible to win that one, realistically. Anyway, this time I boarded in the Herald of Greens, and we've got a pretty strong start here. We've got Valhalla into Tethius, like, answer it or loose, basically. He's got Trade-In, Pitch Titanial. None of that shit. Herald of Green. Negate with Shining Angel. pitching the Shining Angel over the Venus because Venus is a trade-in target. So if we draw trade-in next turn, we can pitch Splendid Venus and trigger our Tethius. He goes for Heavy Storm to clear the Valhalla, set monster, and he can't answer the Tethius. So we're going to get one draw step at least with Tethius here. We do find that trade-in, and so my play is infinitely rewarded, saving the Splendid Venus in case we draw trade-in. We pitch, we draw 2, we reveal Christia, and we reveal Shining Angel. We reveal nothing. We draw into Valhalla. So pretty solid there. Turned our trade-in into a pitch 1, draw 4. Very, very nice. I can now normal summon Shining Angel. And because he knows about the Christia, and he knows we have 3 fairies in grave, if this is a Raikou, which it is, he can't even actually pop one of my monsters, which is hilarious. So we're able to run over the Raikou for free, and he gets tokens, and we're able to run over the token for free. And now he has to play through Herald of Green or Herald of Orange, and he has to answer the Tethius next turn, or it's going to give us even more infinite draws. He passes a turn back, and he concedes. So that's just how powerful Tethius is on the first turn of the game. Your opponent has to have an out or they immediately lose, which is crazy. This game, however, is where things get difficult. We are going second, and his deck is pretty fast and pretty strong going second. We do have Granmole, which can help us deal with set monsters. Can also help us deal with Amaryllis and Titanial in a fashion that doesn't hinder us too much. So he's kind of MVP, my son, actually putting in all of the work in the world in this deck. And we do top deck into a Valhalla. That being said, we play 7, so this is pretty decent for us. We can actually start off with Shining Angel. He's going to go ahead and Torrential Tribute, which is exactly what I wanted my Shining Angel to do. I wanted it to bait a removal spell. I wanted it to bait a back row, because I can continue playing this turn via Hecatrice into Valhalla. So he's going to get 2 tokens. We're going to Hecatrice, pitch, bam, grab Valhalla. And I say, fuck it. If you have Dust Tornado, we're going to have to play through it eventually. Let's do it now. Activate, special out the Neo-Parshath. And he's going to be forced to compulsory the Neo-Parshath. But we can just play it again next turn. So, Neo-Parshath eating tokens for breakfast, showing off why this card is so disgusting. He double sacks for Titanial, which is normally pretty good. But we have a billion ways to deal with it between Honest and Granmole. And Valhalla is going to help us to even somehow out Splendid Venus, perhaps. Drawing Herald of Greenlight is okay. That being said, if he has specifically Mirror Force here, we get fucked. But I think if he had Mirror Force here, he would have said it last turn. So he would have had to top deck Mirror Force in 42. And I just take the risk that he didn't. Special the Neo-Parshath, normal summon Granmole, attack with the Granmole. And now, because he doesn't know about the Honest, he'll probably use a spot removal spell on the Granmole if he has it. Little does he know that the Parshath itself is actually the threat because we have the Honest. We're going to Granmole. He's going to Divine Wrath on the Granmole, pitching Amaryllis. Cool card, but it's just going to work out really poorly for him and trade very unfavorably. If it was a Phoenix Wing Windblast, same thing. If it was a Regeki Break, same thing. Like any sort of discard card there that could have killed the Granmole. If it was a D-Prison there, same thing. Anyway, we're going to deal the 2300. We're going to get to draw another card here. We've got another Honest lined up for the Neo-Parshath, just feeling on top of the world. And we've got Herald of Green to negate any sort of spell card that he could go for, trade in or whatnot. He normal summons Lila, pops the Valhalla, and Face Mills 3 brings out the Amaryllis, but this is just food for the Parshath here. We draw into Hecatrice. Neo-Parshath's going to connect over Lila. It's going to draw us yet another card. This card is so fucking good. It's insane. I'm so pilled on this card. This is, like, in my opinion, this card is the reason to play this deck. It's not necessarily Tethius or Christia or all of the other insanely powerful cards. It's like getting to play with Neo-Parshath is so fun. Piercing, drawing cards, killing stuff by battle is like the best feeling. That's like the best feeling +2. We draw into Space Typhoon, which means we're insulated from Mark of the Rose and DDR. Not that DDR really would have been too much because we have Herald of Green and we have Honest here. So yeah, he goes ahead and reveals 2 more 8 stars that he had bricked on, and that's going to be the match. So pretty solid showing from Valhalla, actually. I didn't expect this list to go undefeated. I had played it in a couple practice matches before, and I lost both of the practice matches, but I may post those to members only. They're really interesting games where, like, I would have won had I gotten, like, slightly less unlucky, or, like, my opponent top deck's perfect in, like, certain circumstances. I'm going to get a wider volume of games with this, and I'm going to make a big members only video with it. So if you want to see more gameplay with this deck, consider becoming a member, $2.99 a month. Help support the tournaments, help support the channel, etc. And I'm definitely going to be playing this deck more. I think there's really something here. Between the Cyber Valley innovation with the Brain Mind to go second, trigger Tethius, or, Splendid Venus plus trade in to trigger Tethius on the first turn of the game. Or, maybe it's just Royal Decree plus Neo-Parshath, like beating down on slightly weaker beat sticks like Hero Beat, or, even something like Gravekeeper Spy is no match for the Neo-Parshath, just drawing you extra cards. So I'm really been really impressed with this deck and how consistently it draws and how resilient it is even to the hate cards that are normally really good against it. But I just need a bigger volume with it. I think I need to sit down and play like 10 or so matches, and I'll make a big members only video with it. So stay tuned for more, and let me know what you guys think of this list in the comments below. I'm pretty sold on this 40 or 55. I don't think there's really any changes that are going to make this too much better. I tried a different list that played triple Air Knight Parshath, no Splendid Venus, but like I said, I missed being able to trigger Tethius on the first turn of the game with the trade-in on the high roll hands. And Air Knight Parshath doesn't ever trigger Tethius, so that list kind of fell by the wayside. Plus, Air Knight Parshath, I think he doesn't line up as well versus cards like Alias or Cyber Dragon or even Snowman Eater can give Air Knight Parshath some trouble. So he's still good enough, and you still want the fourth copy of this type of effect to have the full 13 payoff cards. He's also pretty great as follow-up with Mausoleum. Like, let's say you have Valhalla plus Mausoleum. You Valhalla out a big fairy, and then you can Mausoleum pay 1,000 normal Air Knight. It's pretty strong. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.